Hello everyone and thank you for joining us. This is Organization Leadership and Culture on Steroids with Ben Ochipapute, and today promises to be an amazing one because we'll have an excellent leader, really top-notch leader, someone who has been able to create significant transformation within the global space when it comes to leadership, a transformational speaker, a public speaker for excellence, and someone who has gone far and wide when it comes to consulting for huge, big organizations. I dare say Fortune 500 organizations, if you understand what I mean. The big fours when it comes to the financial institution, and of course, the oil and gas as well, the greyhounds really in oil and gas. It's my pleasure really to welcome no other but the phenomenal transformational coach, no other person but Jimi Tewe, the boss.
Thank you, man.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us here.
Thanks
and
for
welcome
having
to
me.
Abeco Global Media.
Thank you.
First of all, let me even ask, how are we doing with the goal of buying that car?
Well, so, you see that I polished online. I put it there, but I told myself I was going to get it this year as a reward to achieving something. So that's the thing that it's not just an output. It's something that once I get something, then the reward is that car. So I have a timeline on what it was.
Fantastic.
We're doing well.
For those of you who doesn't know, or for those of you who don't know, Jimmy is he likes cars a lot. He likes cars a lot, and there's a particular brand of car he's been looking forward to again. But then we are here, and let's just get into the crux of the conversation. Yes. This is where I'm going to start from. So something happened not too long ago.
Yeah.
I went into a financial institution to do some transaction, and I was during the heat of the work from home lockdown situation. So of course I was dressed not in a formal way, just with my trousers and my shirt, and I just walked in with a slip on. I just walked in and I said, hey, I needed to do this. The lady sort of looked at me. After a while she said, what do you do? Then I said, well, I do a couple of things, which is one thing I struggle with whenever people ask me, because I'm asking myself which side of myself. And I said, well, I corporate brand identity officer and things. They said, no, beyond that, what do you do? And whenever people begin to ask me like that, I realize that they've seen something beyond the ordinary. So I just opened up and said, you know what, I'm a coach, I'm a public speaker, I write, I do a couple of things. And she broke down what was the biggest challenge of her life at that time. She's working in the financial institution, but she's not getting fulfillment. She wants to leave, but she doesn't know what to do. Right there, she Googled me up. She discovered I'd written a book titled What's My Purpose? And she requested for the book. Of course, I sold a copy of the book to her and things like that. So I think usually, from what is obtainable at the moment, there is a huge number of employees who are very disengaged. And there's a lot of research that backs that up. And a lot of time is because there is a disconnect between what they do and the fulfillment they get from it. My question to you right there would be, first off, what do you need to pivot? So let's say I'm doing X and I want to move into Y.
Exactly.
What exactly do I need to be able to move?
Okay, thank you very much. This question you asked is one that I get asked quite often, and all that, because it really is a fundamental problem. Most people, simple example, thank God it's Friday, and say, oh God, it's Monday, all right? The reason being that, they tend to want to endure the work they do rather than enjoy the work that they do. And many times, many factors influence it. The economy you grew up in, if it's a tough economy, that you find a job is not a big deal. But at some point in time, even with comfort, then the deeper desires you have need to now come. Am I aligned with what I do? Do I enjoy what I do? And all that. It's in places where things are told that people tend to suppress those other desires and actually point in the right direction. So, but now somebody's in a position where they're saying to themselves, I'm working in the financial services sector, but there's a whole lot more to me that I want to find expression. So how do I pivot into that? I tell people that same way, if you decide that you are on the wrong route somewhere, you want to get to a new place, first thing to do is to be clear about where you want to go to.
Clarity.
Some people are always tired of where they are, but they're not clear about where they're going to. That in itself is very dangerous. So the first thing you want to do is clarity about what you want to do. So if you say to yourself, somebody says, I missed the way. The next thing you will say is, where are you going? Am I right? So because where you're going to now determines the new way you're going to go. So for example, people tell me, oh Jimmy, I've worked in operations in banking for this number of years and all that, but I feel like I'm more of a people person. I want to do human resource management and like that. It's easy for me to now say to them that, okay, the next thing you want to do that you want to go get some certification. Maybe you want to go get some experience, all right? Even if it's not paid, if it's volunteer and all that, and now begin to navigate and take steps in that regard. So first thing is clarity about where it is you want to go to. The second thing you want to do is to also go and get a lot more information to study that area. Every field has a door to it, or several doors to it. Some fields, for example, don't require a university degree. I live in America, and there are certain fields, particularly in IT, your master's or your BSc does not matter. It's the certification you have that matters. So you have a Scrum Master certification, and all that, or you have Agile certification, or you have data analysis, or Power BI, or some other area. There are people that get a Power BI certification, which you can read up in 2 months, and then after that, if you pass the exam, you get a job at $170,000. Meanwhile, somebody has gone to school, has 2 masters, and still collecting $40,000. So it depends on the field. So know the field, study the field, find out what the requirements in the field are, what the entrance to the field are, and then start doing something every single day towards that while doing what you are still doing. Because some people want to resign to do that, but life becomes very tough and very discouraging when that is concerned. So have your 9 to 5, then have your 5 to 9. What do you do after you have done that one to start moving yourself closer to what it is you really want to do? The more you do that and the more you look up for opportunity, one day, if you are prepared, that opportunity is going to come and you can actually step into it.
So first off, it's clarity as to where exactly you're going, which is
exactly
the question around your destination,
yeah,
essentially. And then secondly, gathering information around those specific fields that you think you are interested in. So let's flip it this other way. Assuming you were within an organization, you already have a role that you play within an organization, and there is a different role, possibly outside of what you're doing. Let's say, for instance, you in technical and now you want to go non-technical.
Exactly.
Now you are not essentially going outside of that organization, but you're still within that organization. Just that you're doing something different. Or let's say, for instance, you are in IT and you want to go into finance.
Exactly.
Or you are in finance, you want to go into engineering and things like that. What is the place of personal branding in that? Does it have a role to play?
Exactly. The idea about branding, generally they'll tell you that in those days that they will take a hot iron and put it on a cow and brand it and all that. So basically it is something having an impact. I tell people that the brand you exude determines how people are going to receive you. But in this instance, determines how people are going to receive you, all right? You are in IT, you want to move to finance. They're not going to hire you in finance except they feel that you fit them. So what exactly does fit mean? Fit is technical knowledge. Fit is organizational, capacity. Fit is also the way that you are perceived. So some people focus on just the external stuff, but it's the internal stuff. You've not done finance before. I'm not going to put you there because you wear a nice suit, all right?
Yeah.
I must make sure that you. So for example, if you came back and say, you know what, I'm an IT, but guess what? I've done my CFA. Oh wow, that's a big deal because some people in finance have not even done CFA. So when they have a conversation and say, we need to hire somebody, someone can say, there's this person in IT, he has a CFA, even though you now become a possible candidate where that is concerned. So you have to be able to do that. The other thing that is there is that let people experience you before they need you. So what I mean, let them experience you before they need you. So what I mean by that is that if finance has a project over the weekend, you can volunteer for them in the same organization. And when you're part of those conversations, they will then see you do have something you can actually offer. Because people find it easier to recommend people that have experienced. That's the thing that's there. So you want to do that. And then the external things, so on your LinkedIn, so for example now, even though you're in IT, there might be things about articles on finance. You can even talk about finance in IT because every field has finance in it.
Absolutely.
So you're not limited and all that. The more you start doing that, the more attractive you begin to look. And then even if the opportunity comes and says, oh, we have a job, you have your CFA, you have done 7 projects with finance and assisted them and all that, someone can start to take a bet on you, you're able to cross it there.
So essentially, like you would like to put it, it's those things that doesn't concern you.
Yes, it's what doesn't change your life. What does not concern you?
You probably might not have heard Jimmy say this. The first time I heard it, in my mind I'm like, what? What exactly? Do you want to throw more light to that in responding to this question?
So contextually, so he was in the meeting I was in and we're having a conversation with some people. And one of the things I've said is, my observation is that doing your job does not earn you recognition because you are expected to do your job.
Absolutely, that's the baseline.
That's base. Yeah. What makes you recognized is doing beyond your job. And beyond your job can either be in terms of quantity, meaning you are doing a whole lot more, that's recognizable. Or you have a heterogeneous experience, meaning that beyond your job, you are actually showing things. Now, my personal experience in my career, what helped me to get a fast track in my career, where the commitments are made beyond my regular job. The commitments are made beyond what my other colleagues were doing at that point in time. There were meetings I attended after office hours that my colleagues, it was open when I decided to go for those meetings and all that. It was projects I took on that my salary did not cover, but eventually became the praise for them to say, we can promote him because he has done this extra thing. So that's why I keep saying to people, look, be somebody that you don't close your eyes to problems around you, particularly the ones you're able to solve, because you never know, the problems you're able to solve are the ones that will give you visibility that actually now become the recommendation or the premise for people to say, look, we can actually promote this person or we can hire this person. That's what I mean by that.
True. Thanks. And I mean, it's I think there are a lot of testament to that really, because again, it's about the extra that you bring to the table.
Exactly.
That's really a very cliche word that we usually would hear. So as we progress, I would like to talk a little bit about the element of fulfillment when it comes to career. I mean, we touched about it, and your own personal journey sort of typifies a lot around this, very, very heavy on instructions really, and very inspirational. I mean, you started off as a banker. At some point, you did a bit of consulting. Then you had to sort of leave the entire circle, despite the mark that you've made, the success you've made, even the money that comes with it. I remember you told a story where you had to even quit the house you were living on the island and moved to the mainland in Lagos. Not just to the mainland, to a terrible part of the mainland, let me put that in quotes, just to be able to pursue the direction that. So let me ask you this: what is even more critical when it comes to career fulfillment? If for someone who is really saying to myself, I want to be fulfilled career-wise, what are the critical success factors that you need to pay attention to?
I think there are different dimensions. For one is reward. That was the easiest one. That's what people know. The concept of the idea that I'm adequately rewarded for the work I'm doing is one. The other part to it beyond reward is recognition. All right, that whether it's internally within the organization or beyond the organization, there's a recognition of the value that I'm bringing on board. All right, fulfillment also speaks about the impact on the people that you make, because I think that's probably one of the deepest dimensions of fulfillment. Because at the end of the day, yes, you're the one that introduced this policy, you're the one that introduced this product or service, and that's great. We see the people that you meet at work. But I found out there's a guy who was a youth corper when I was head of recruitment for UBA some years ago. Today is the head of trading for one of the top companies. I won't mention the company right now and all that. So I'm grateful that I was nice to him. So that means I can get some jobs from him and projects from him even after this and those kind of things. So the kind of impact you make on people's lives and all that. Because at the end of the day, what gives you fulfillment is not personal to you. It's more of what you have done in the life of others, what you did for the organization, what you did for other people and all that. Those are elements that give you fulfillment. For many people, it's only someone that's eating that is full that begins to think about ideas about fulfillment and all that. That's why I tell people that, look, even in your journey, I mean, earning double of what you earn is very easy. It's very simple. Just go and find your field, the role where they earn double of what you earn. Find out, go and look at the vacancy, find out the requirements, check what you have, find out the gaps you call your personal development plan, fill the gaps, apply for the role. If you do that enough, you get a job. It's that simple. I know somebody watching is saying it's not that simple. It's that simple, all right? Because the reason why I say it's not that simple is because of experience, all right? But actually that's simple.
Oh, okay. So the other question I also like to ask is, they say, if you've not been there, you probably would not have seen it. You have a huge backlog of experience that a lot of people need to leverage when it comes to career-wise. What would be one bad decision you think you made? And probably if you rewind, sort of turn back the hands of time, you definitely will correct in your career.
Well, so my career includes what I do. I believe that what career means the path or the way, and the experience, the journey. That's what I was trying to say. So including what I'm doing right now, because people say career, normal times to say doing when I was working for somebody, and all that. But even as a businessman now, I believe it's for my career. I think that the point I was transitioning from banking into doing my own thing, I think I would have placed a little more emphasis on learning from people who had done something similar, so that I went through some things I did not have to go through.
Basically reinventing the wheel.
Reinventing the wheel all over again. Meanwhile, I could have sometimes even paid to have access, so that would have shortened my learning curve, and I would not have gone through. I'm grateful that in spite of everything, though, I came out of that. But in retrospect, I feel that I didn't have to do that. So whenever I want to do anything new now, I look for people that have been there, done that. I'm able to leverage their knowledge, and that way I'm able to shorten my learning curve. Exactly.
Absolutely, fantastic. Oh, so again, guys, like I said, this is organization leadership and culture on steroids, and this is one program basically where we just try to reach out to phenomenal leaders like Jimmy and basically have them share their experiences, and like you said, shorten your learning curve essentially, so you don't spend so much time on your call. So the other part I'm going to speak to, it's quite very touchy really. It's around personal culture and organization culture.
Sure.
A lot of times you find yourself working in certain organizations, and I worked in organizations in the past where I realized that if I had worked in organization X before I got into Y, I probably would have had a terrible working experience because the culture in organization X, which somehow, and culture is very progressive,
Exactly. Yeah.
somehow had looked like the norm as at that time. If I picked all of those elements, would have affected me where I'm going to. So the question then is, if I find myself where, okay, I need to work in a certain organization in order as a stopgap to move to certain places, and there are certain cultures that I need not to imbibe as I move. How exactly do I manage, essentially, when you are even expected to leave those cultures within those organizations?
Culture is, like I said, correct. There's the external, which is organizational wide, and it's personal one. But I tell people that whether I like it or not, if you're working in an organization, you are most likely going to have to find a way to align or adapt where the organization is concerned. So I'll give an example. I once worked in a bank where somebody from the oil and gas industry came, and he came at a pretty senior level. And then his first day at work, at lunchtime, he carried his racket to play long tennis. And everybody was laughing at him, and he didn't understand why. Well, he understood later why. Because we don't play long tennis. Not because we want to play, but in our place. In fact, I won't mention the name of the company again. One director called me one day, and he told me to come downstairs. And this was, closing time was meant to be, say, about 4:30. This was after 5. He said, see them, they're going home. Imagine.
At 5.
I'm telling you. And I almost was like, what's up? They're trying to go home. Because in his words, anybody going up at this time is not engaged. So you can imagine the kind of culture that is. So, but if you work in that kind of, now that guy eventually adapted, that's what you need to do. All right? So you're going to ask yourself, why am I here? All right? Why am I here? Is there going to be any value? How long am I going to be here? So while I'm here, I'm going to find a way to adapt. It's like if you go to a foreign country that doesn't speak their language, you're going to get an interpreter. What are you going to do? To be to survive in that place. If not, you will struggle. So that's the thing that is there. So I tell people this, that the likelihood you will, now sometimes there's an alignment between your personal culture and the culture of the organization. You thrive in that one very thing. But sometimes you're in a place that there's no perfect alignment, but you know you need to be in that place for that phase. So you need to find a way to adapt to that. It'll be good. Yeah.
Fantastic. So it's about just your adaptability skills at that moment, knowing fully well that the goal is still very much ahead of you. I got a member of the team to do a bit of, and I'm sure you'll be shocked at this, to do a bit of the digging of you. And he came up with this. I said some Jimi Tewe's important statement I discovered. One, the only limit you can place on yourself is the one you place on yourself.
Yes, very simple. I'm a very simple guy.
So I read it and I said, makes sense, really. Makes sense. The only limit you can place on yourself is the one. The second one says, find out what problem you are designed to solve. Develop your capabilities in that area. Look for who need those capabilities. You don't need to attend every interview. Do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Well, interview, I talk about interview coaching a whole lot and all that. And honestly, I've been in interviews before and I was like, what's this person looking for here? This is not you. This is not. But sometimes desperation in the economy makes you want to just take on any role. And sometimes if the economy is really bad, you better take on something and then find a way from there. But what I tell people is that, when it comes to roles, ultimately, once you pass the basic physiological needs and all that, then other things begin to matter to you at that point in time. It's very simple. You want to interview, you must make sure that I'm a fit for this job. Why are you trying to get a job that it will take God to get a job? You know what I mean by that? You don't fit the role. So that means that something else happens to the recruiter to not look at his requirements any longer, just pick you. Now, sometimes those kind of things happen. But what I mean by that is that if you have a role you want to interview for, then go study it. It's that simple. Or people even ask me questions like, so how much should I tell them when I get there? I'm like, no, check. How much do they pay them? Do the survey, and then you have a figure you can work with. And all those kind of things, So the information is out there. People can tell you can check the internet, basic stuff, and that way. So what I find is that a lot of people are excited about interviews but never prepare properly. When they prepare, they think from a narrow point of view, maybe just a role. But that role exists within the organization, that organization exists within an industry. So the more you inform about the industry, about the organization, the better you do at the interview. So that's where the preparation actually comes to play.
Amazing. I agree to that. I remember one of the interviews that I attended back in the days, and when we were done, they asked me if I have a question. So, and a lot of times that's where some people also miss it. So they just get on and say, oh, I'm fine. Sometimes they just ask, when are you getting back to me? So I looked across the room and we had, of course, you could tell by the sitting position and the questions they asked who was leading that team. Exactly. So I looked across the room, all of them in the eyes, and I went back to the leader and I said, how long have you been with this organization? And he said, I think about a decade plus at that time. And I said, wow. And I said, so how has it been? So he smiled and said, well, it's been interesting and challenging. And I said, good. And I said, well, I think it's really impressive what the organization has been able to do. Because as at that time, like you said, I researched about the organization, how much was their profit the previous year, the entire capital worth of the organization. And so I gave them those figures and everything. And I ended up by saying, you know what, I think I look forward to working with you guys. When I left the room, I could hear them laugh. And I just told myself, it's either I've done badly
very well,
or I've done very well.
Yes.
And I mean, I at the end of the day, I got a job anyway. So the other one says, if you have several abilities, one of your common words, find that area where you can fully deploy yourself and add the best value. And I think this really pertains to a lot of people, and if not everybody. If you have several abilities, find that area where you can fully deploy yourself and add the best value. Do you want to say one or two things to that?
Sure. I mean, clearly, there are many options in the market, and all those kind of things. As you grow your career, I believe that there has to be a lot more alignment between your internal image and external experience. So what I mean by that is that you grow your career at some point, what you do should, because your job is meant to allow you to do more.
Your job is meant to allow you to be you.
Yes, to be yourself.
Word.
Work is not meant to be stressful. Work is meant to be expression of self. Now, you can start somewhere, there's no alignment, but you begin to navigate yourself towards alignment. That's where fulfillment lies. That's where heightened success lies. That's where great reward lies, because it's fish in water. It's a lion in the jungle. That's the way that works.
Great. I like that. Work is meant to help you express yourself and to be who you are. So the challenge with most employees is that they don't have what they want, and what they get is what they have. I want you to talk about this.
No. Well, the truth about it is that so you don't get what you want, and then what happens eventually is that people settle, and they only have what they've been given. But you and I know that life is not a cafe. It's not meant to be a cafe. It can be a buffet where you eat what you want. You might not get it initially, but it's a certain person who is self-motivated, self-driven, that has a vision that eventually can get. And I've seen this, I've been doing this for over 2 decades. I've seen a lot more people succeed that way than the other way. We just wait, oh, this is what they gave me. All right, because in the cafeteria, you eat what they give you. In a buffet, you eat what you want. So I let's tell people that life is for you. Can either, that's the thing, it can either be a cafeteria or a buffet for you. You are the one that chooses what you want to eat. So it's about choice where your career is concerned. Don't settle. Sometimes that's what you have, but don't settle. All right? I know somebody told me when they say, no, but Jimmy, Bible says it should be godliness with contentment. I said contentment is a different level. I can be content today, tomorrow I'm discontent. It does not mean I'm ungodly, all right?
Absolutely.
So
it's
that's
not a
the
sin.
there.
Yeah.
Yes, so keep going.
I mean, success is not serve a la carte. At the end of the day, it's your choice.
Yes.
It's your decision, and you just have to own it.
Yes.
Number 5 says, don't change jobs because of money. You change job because there is somewhere you are going to, and where you are cannot give you, cannot get you
Where you are going to.
You need to move forward.
Yes. What I'm saying there is, now don't misunderstand me, I'm not saying money is not important. But what I'm saying is that if the only premise for moving is because of money, there's a likelihood it's going to be false. I've seen people move into roles that some industries promise. They pay them first 3 months, and after 3 months, they don't pay them that piece.
Sustainable.
So you have to think about, for example, the future of that industry. There's some industries that have shut down recently. So for example, in the capital market, because of digitization of the capital market, certain part of registrar's functions have been wound down and all that, simply because they don't need to go manual. What happened? What accelerated it during COVID? We also used to have AGM. Remember AGM? People will now come, there'll be cars parked everywhere. Then they now started doing EAGM. Guess what? They've not gone back. They're doing EAGMs now. So somebody that your job was to organize the food pack, organize party pack. No more job now. Chicken and pound. So that's what I'm trying to say. So yes, money is important, and this is the thing that is there. When I say don't chase money, at some point, if you are really good and people know you are really good, money is not good. That's the truth about it.
So money shouldn't be the motivator.
Only motivator, primary money. Yes,
it shouldn't be the driver. If what you are thinking is, I want to get a job, that is one way to approach it. Otherwise, you can say, I want to become this. So what do I need to learn, to develop, or to get to where I'm going? Or raise funds, finances, to finance where I'm going to. Then you also say, one of the common things you also say is the fact that you will stay with that job if it keeps satisfying you, or you don't want it anymore in life. Basically saying that if it gives you what you want, then you're going to stay. If you don't, then you move. 7 says, if you start a business and it becomes profitable, you want to move from there to the level where you are. Is this business impacting lives? And I think you've touched a bit around it, where you talked about the fact that once you're done with the psychological needs, then you begin to look at essentially. The last 2, which I'll quickly run through. 8 says, discovery is not an event, it's a process.
It's a process, exactly. Oh, I want to discover a purpose. I want to, no. It will take your time. And you work with what you can see per time. You'll be good.
So you're going from the known to the unknown.
That's how it is.
Then the 9th one, which is the last one, says, try to use every part of you that you have discovered to do good to somebody. It comes back to you.
Exactly.
It can be a salary for a while, and after a while, it can be an income in your organization, or it can be a recognition. Do you want to speak a little bit to this?
Well, yes. I mean, the idea of commitment is a big thing in organizations. Right now, people want to up and out immediately and all kind of things. But I feel like we need to teach a bit more about process. We need people to understand that some things take a bit of time. You're gonna have to commit. I know I said somebody said, I've not found somebody who has done, except now, regular people I'm not talking about them, but exceptionally well. They had a period of time when they were sitting and said, what am I doing here? I can do a whole lot more, but they went through something because they build their capacity for what they're going to in the future and all that. So it's a journey, first and foremost, like I said. It's a process. Embrace your process, enjoy the journey, celebrate where you are, keep adjusting, keep moving towards where you want to get to. Eventually, as you are moving, God is moving, two of you will meet together. So you have a good time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've basically got, let me just ask this question for popular demand. Essentially because of the peculiarity of the times that we are in now, and it's around the issue of migration.
Yes, sure.
All right, so you see a lot of people who are really falling heads over heels and they just want to get out of any other place but Nigeria for obvious and legitimate reasons anyway. But my challenge then is the how. What do you think a lot of people are missing? Because again, we live in a global environment at the moment where your ideas can really transverse any boundary without necessarily moving from where you are. Exactly. So if you're thinking, which is not a bad idea, thinking about really, like you use the word Japaism, right? What are the things that you think people need to pay attention? Because we've seen people make these decisions and the outcome has been very terrible.
I think that first and foremost, let me even borrow from the Bible. any land that got them to conquer, we tend to go and spy the land. It's a simple wisdom.
Whoa.
Every time,
Whoa.
that's spy the land. So any land you want to go to spy it. Don't just carry your bag, and that's why I pray people don't do that out of desperation, because desperation blinds you, and that's why you get in place. So I live in America. I live in Dallas, and before that, I've been going to America every single year and all that. I didn't want to be in America eventually, but a few things happened and I knew that I had to be in America and all that. But I was prepared. I've been to Nigeria in the last 1.5 years since I moved. This is my 7th time. And somebody said, I heard that somebody said that among many of us that traveled, it seems that Jimmy is the only one that was ready for it. Because Steve comes, but most people go and you don't hear from them for a while. And the reason why is because you didn't ask for information about how things will be. You made too many assumptions. One of the first things I had to do basically was understand how to make money in America is different from how to make money in Nigeria. Yes. So one thing I had to do was I had to ramp up my income in Nigeria. I had to have a plan to have a certain amount I was making every single month for the first couple of months, because I realized that in America, bills are monthly. That's one thing that shocked people. We pay rent once a year or once in 2 years. You breathe, then 2 years before you know it, it's already 2 years. It's like 2 weeks. You're paying again. And if you don't have a plan, I have people that have relocated and come back because they couldn't handle it. So ask questions, spy the land, find out what's going on. If you are going to a new economy, if possible, if you're not sure what to do, find out what is the easiest job to do with the lowest entry level that you can do and all those kind of things. Start from there. Then from that, don't now settle there, begin to navigate upwards. And that requires you network with people. I know a lot of Nigerians that move abroad and only look for Nigeria. It's not good. Yes, you have to look beyond the social circle and think about new opportunities, new collaborations. And I'm doing a project with YMCA, and by God's grace, in a couple of months. It's somebody that I've never seen in my life, that I met online on Instagram. And we have had meetings with another company. I had a meeting here at Bonny Island some 2 days ago. There was white people there, African American, they were asking us questions about that. We are having another type of technology. I've never met this guy before. And we are doing a project in Cincinnati and in Kentucky and some other places and all that. So, spy the land.
Spy the land.
And ask people. I remember, ask questions. You do
get all the information that you need and essentially have a plan.
Yes.
I think that is what it is. Exactly. I think this is where we draw the curtain. It's been an interesting time. I know this is what Jimmy does for a living, so we can go on and on. But then, of course, we still have a couple of things to catch. And until we see you again, and thanks very much for joining us. But maybe just one word of advice to the young guys out there. I probably will have one.
I'm giving them 7 words already now. I'm just kidding. Well, really and truly, I know that it's tough times in Nigeria. Yeah. But what I've learned, and most leadership trainings will tell you, that in the middle of chaos is the greatest opportunity.
In the middle of chaos is the greatest opportunity.
Yeah. So it depends on what side you're looking at it, half empty or half full. So the same Nigeria, that can be some opportunities. I think there are. I know people that work in Enugu that earn in a month $4,000, $5,000 and they live in Enugu. You know why? The internet. You know why? They have the skills. They've demonstrated it, and they will pay you that money because I'll tell you why. That $4,000 is collecting. That somebody is collecting $8,000 in America, so it's cheaper for them.
Yeah.
So remote working, as long as it delivers, nobody's asking you questions. So while things might be hard in Nigeria, while dollar is expensive, then earn dollar. So there are many ways. So you either look at the cup half empty or half full. Nigeria, the trust is going to get better. When you get better, then eventually that will contribute to the nation getting better.
Absolutely. And this is how really we come to the end of this session. And I'm just going to end it by saying, like someone will always say, it is terrible for you to be known to others and yet unknown to yourself. Find out your strength, find out your vulnerabilities, find out your capabilities, look for where you can make impact and begin to shine. Thank you very much. My name is Ben Ochukwu. Until we catch you on the other side next time. Thank you.
Thank you.